In this chapter, I want to discuss value structure. Okay, now what you want to do for every drawing or painting that you start is you want to do a 3-value study. Now this will tell you immediately in a 1-inch by 3/4 inch, little kind of drawing over here, whether or not the image is going to work or not. So basically, I'm going to break this drawing down when I eventually get to the drawing after this first section. I'm going to do the background pretty much a dark value. There's going to be light on the cast, and the shadow is going to be a middle tone. Okay, and the base I'm probably going to choose to do like a middle tone. So that's the most primitive you could get with a 3-value study, and I try to do this for every single painting and drawing that I do. And I just did this before we turned on the camera, so you don't see like me reaching over. And it took me like 2 minutes to do. I just wanted to make it solid. You don't even have to do it that way. If you do this for every single drawing and painting that you start, and you take 2 minutes to do it, it's a great way to kind of see whether or not your drawing is going to work or it's not going to work before you spend a week on something and then you're like, oh, it's not really working too well. What's the problem with this? It's because you didn't do a 3-value study and you're making decisions as you're working on the final. This might be a little bit too predictable for people, and some people, like, they enjoy the process of creation and they like to make mistakes and erase and do all that. That's fine. Again, my DVDs are, the purpose of my DVDs and the way that I teach is to give you guys tools. And let's say I teach you 20 tools. If you only use one, hey, great. I've taught you something. If you use all 20, great. I don't use all of my tools all the time. But at some point in my life, I used all of the tools that I teach on the website and on the DVDs. And, sometimes if I'm in a hurry and I'm doing something, I may skip doing an all-value study. Maybe I'll do this very quick. Sometimes I'll skip this and I'll work out the all-value study in my sketch. So it depends. It depends on where I'm at and how much time I have. So let's do a quick little recap. First thing we did was we matched values. Then we talked about value ratios. If you're going to draw something that's a black object, you're only going to use maybe 6 values. Okay, if you're going to draw a light object, you're only going to use 6 values the opposite way. And now we just mentioned a 3-value study. You want to always set your drawings up to have 3 primitive values. And why is that? Well, that's to give you control. And it's also to see if your drawing is going to work big and small, because most of the time, if you, let's use the illustrator metaphor again. If you're an illustrator, your book might be on a website like this. And if your book sells, that book company is going to hire you again because your cover is selling that book. And your image is going to sell more if it shows up in a thumbnail in like on BarnesandNobles.com if it's set up this way. If there's like patchiness and your value structure is not like controlled, it may not show up. And value is 80% of your images. It's 80% of your image, the value structure. 20% of your image structure is color, which we're not going to get into on this DVD, but values, that's why values are so important. Now let's get into an all-value study. Okay, now basically when I say all-value study, there's a gazillion shades of gray in the world, but when I say all-value study, we're going to do a light and dark on the actual cast, light and dark on the background, and light and dark on the little platform. And I don't know, I'm not going to tie myself to this. I don't know if I'm going to change this when I go to the final, but I just want to show you the process that you should take. And again, this is the metaphor is I don't think that you would build a house unless you had plans from an architect. You could. You'd waste a lot of wood, and you'd probably get really frustrated. And if you build a room as you're going, and then you realize after you nailed the first wall up that it's crooked, or maybe it's too small, this just prevents a lot of heartache. And you can see in 5 minutes or less whether or not this drawing is going to work for you if you kind of do this all-value study. Okay, so I'm basically drawing like an impressionistic painter right now. And that's how you want to think about this exercise, that you're drawing like an impressionistic painter and everything's going to be a little bit out of focus. This exercise is so not for detail. This is just to show you and let's say your art director, if you're working on a job, whether or not this painting is going to actually work. And let's get rid of the illustration metaphor and let's go to the fine art metaphor. Let's say you have a show coming up and you're going to have like 20 paintings, and there's one painting in the show that you want to have the most visual impact. Maybe when they first walk into the gallery. Well, maybe you would do like a 3-value study like this to make sure that that one image really has like the most impact. The other way to think about this exercise is that you want all of your images to be consistent, and so maybe you're going to choose to do all of your 3-value studies, and you want them to have a certain look and feel to the whole show. Okay, we're almost there with at least the background. Again, coal erase pencil, not a good choice for this. I mean, I can't tell you how hard I'm pressing down on this thing, and it is killing my forearm. Alright, so let's just push, get rid of that middle tone because we want this to be a dark. And now we can get rid of some more lights. Again, I'm going for an out of focus look, not for detail. And this is going to tell me whether or not I even want to do my value structure this way. Now this base is a weird thing because it's kind of translucent. But I'm just going to choose to go that value in my light. And that value in my shadow of the base. And then this is really dark.